Coming up next on Meet the Farmer TV.
This program is a production of Meet the Farmer TV, LLC, in association with
Planet Earth Diversified, Nelly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design.
If consumers truly do want to shoulder some of the responsibility for the food that they eat and serve their family, they need to extend that responsibility all the way to the farm.
Let people bring their awareness about that the food they get at the grocery store and the food that they take for granted every day, that they can, where it comes from. And it does come from here, local farms, local producers, and that we need agriculture to be a part of every community. Well, one of the ways you save a farm is to make sure they're so economically viable and strong that anyone would be a fool to sell the farm. Well, that definitely hasn't been the case over the last 30 years. You've seen more and more farms being sold to development and higher use values. But if we actually had a higher end product, we could make a larger wage or a larger profit from what we produce on the farm, then you see less and less people going away from the farms to support their families, coming back to the farms to raise their kids on the farms, and to also have a standard of living that they feel comfortable with. And that's the best way to save farmland, is to save the viability of the economic enterprise as well as the social and lifestyle that we all benefit from as well. So many times we go to the supermarket shelf, we see so many refined products and so many products on the supermarket shelf that they're just marketing. That's all they are. Where we need to get back to figure out where those products really came from and really try to identify what food you're eating to begin with, not just the marketing label that is associated with it. And so both the Buy Fresh, Buy Local movements and the Save Our Food movements, and this whole let's get back to know our food idea, know who it comes from. I had a great visit a year or so ago down with a distributor for Food City, and he was responsible for buying all the produce for Food City in there. And he said his best marketing campaign by far was to simply put a picture of the farmer that grew the produce next to the bin of produce when it come in, and he said it flew off the shelves. You know, let's get to know the families and the faces of the people producing your food again. Let's not take it for granted, just go to the supermarket and picking it up, throwing it in a bag and paying the cheapest price for it. So I don't think it's the answer to the world problems is going to be to turn every acre of farmland into a backyard garden and we're all going to prosper. Definitely there are niche operations where if you can take a couple acres off, say your 100 acres, and do a garden or a CSA or a produce that you're going to sell at the local farm market to supplement it, and the rest of the farm you're going to do commodities, your pastures or your crops and things like that. It's a nice blend there. And so it's going to be a balance. I don't think we're ever going to get away from the commodity system, because there's still large plots of land out there that we just can't all farm with a hoe. But there's a place for all of it. We need to make sure everybody has a place at the table into this. That if you want to, this country, if you want to succeed, you ought to have the right to succeed, as long as you abide by the letter of the law. So if you have an idea, even though some law enrichment or it may not be, if you have a great idea how to get your product to the consumer, well, we need to make sure first that it's legal to do that. Get those hurdles, and then let's make sure if all they are hurdles, let's get those hurdles out of the way, and let's let that entrepreneur do what he knows to do, because he has the best ideas of all.
I truly believe that we're going back to the old ways. I think the things that are going on around us are really making us think about how we used to live. We've gotten so caught up in things. When those things get taken away, we think about how we used to produce things for ourselves.
We know that we have to change it. We know that our current industrial system isn't going to feed us. It's not sustainable. More people are hungry around the world than ever before. This year, there will be more people growing gardens, I predict, in this country than ever before, out of need. But there's a lot of folks in our country and around the world that can't access the kind of meal that we've had tonight. And it's really our responsibility to make sure that everybody in this country and everybody around the world, that should be our goal. And I think it's possible. to make sure everybody can have a meal like we had today, but have a meal like this every day. Because that's the way I grew up. When I grew up, we ate like that every day, and that's possible. And we're making that possible inside inner cities, where there's a lot of problems around food access. There's food redlining, where there are no grocery stores because grocery stores don't want to come in to inner city areas. They don't understand the economics, and there are other issues of fear and discrimination around the food system. So we need to come up with ways of getting that healthy food.
We have a design system, okay? Permaculture design system is based on ethics, and it's an ethically based design system. I said in the beginning, we are already designers, and our agriculture is designed with certain goals in mind, okay? It's not designed to be sustainable, but it is designed to maximize output and efficiency and profit. It does those things fairly well, okay? We need to reevaluate. We need to accept the feedback loops that are coming towards us, and we need to learn how to design sustainable systems. And the way we can do that is with an ethical foundation. The first ethic in permaculture is care for the earth, okay? We have the earth as Gaia, as a sustainable system, as a self-managing organism, okay? 5 billion years, it's running fine on its own. It's evolving, becoming ever more complex. What happens when we have massive disturbance is it interrupts that stable system. The burden falls back to the intervener. It's called the burden of the intervener. We have disturbed a stable system. It's up to us, okay, to recreate, to regenerate that stable system.
Ultimately, what all of this is about is producing a good, wholesome product that has great taste, is local, is fresh, and is basically what people are looking for, good quality, nutrient-dense foods. And after they buy it the first time, then they come back a second time. Then you've got them as a regular customer, assuming that they like it. Not everybody really likes slightly tart blackberries, for example, but many people do. Practically everybody loves blueberries, raspberries, the things that I grow. So we get a lot of repeat business, and so that's the way it works at a farmer's market in my experience. When it comes to food stores, again, in Loudoun County, we do have a number of small food stores that are health food stores or just local stores in some of the small towns. And as in many small communities, you get to know the people because the owners of the stores, because you've been there and you've bought from them perhaps in the past. And so you tell them, look, I'm raising these berries now. Would you like to try them? You give them a few boxes to try, or just one box, and they like the taste of them because that's what they're going for. First and foremost is taste, and then if you can say that it follows the O word, great. Then they'll say, okay, this is certified naturally grown. That means it's good. That means it doesn't have any chemicals on it. That means that, it's been produced by a local producer. The restaurant business, if you sell to a chef, you've got to have a good product, period. That's all. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's got to be good. It has to be, ideally, it has to be priced right for that chef. But chefs can have, especially if it's an executive chef, he can have a fair amount of leeway. If they can say that this has been produced by Howell, who just lives 3 miles from here, wonderful. People love that. They really like the idea of being able to have some trust in the restaurant and the producer and so forth. Certified naturally grown is an inspection system or an organic system for farmers without lawyers. Because all the big companies, they'll have lawyers, and those of us who don't have lawyers, this works. It's certified naturally grown is community. It's local is a given. Knowing who the customer is, knowing who the grower is a given. It's about familiarity and trust. It's not about anonymity.
One thing about farming that y'all might not know, so it's really, you might want to be a farmer one day, but it's really important that to be a farmer you have to know science, math, English, engineering, and to be a pretty decent mechanic. Because you have to do those things every day. You have to use those skills, and so it's really important whether you become a farmer or not, but to learn those things. But not many people realize that you have to be a mathematician or know math to be a farmer, but it certainly does help.
Sustainability is a big word or a blanket term used now throughout society, I guess, not only talking about farming, but sustainability of production and manufacturing and the green industry, if you will. But sustainability not only deals with the land and our environment, but it also deals with the ability for farmers or us as a viable business entity to remain profitable and to stay in business. That sustainability is a twofold, has a twofold definition, and we hear a fair number of people when they come to purchase something at our farm market will say, well, you know, I can buy that for 25 cents cheaper or 50 cents cheaper in the grocery store, right? Food Line, Farm Fresh, U-Crops, Kroger, whatever. And I'd say, yes, you're exactly right, but chances are that wasn't picked yesterday or it wasn't picked this morning. And so therefore that goes back to, you know, a lot of our prices are reasonable, but we need to make a profit to be sustainable. And as I have 2 children and 2 nephews, and I hope at least one of them will like to continue farming, but we have to have a profitable business that not many people will maintain a business and continue in a business just to break even.
The thing that is important about the small farm situation is that we being small farmers aren't part of agribusiness, and we would like to have a venue where we can sell, and the farmers market is perfect for that. A lot of people aren't satisfied with what they buy at the supermarket, so they'd like to buy from the farmer they trust. I grow what I have here on my stand, and I bring it here and I sell it to you, the final consumer. So this is what we call relationship marketing. And whereas when you go to a supermarket, you don't know where that food came from. It's very important that we get the message across that small farmers are not big farmers. They shouldn't be under the same regulatory scheme as the big farmers.
It's not just about supporting our local economy and supporting our local farmers, but it's also about making those connections and using this sort of new infrastructure as a relationship building tool and a community building tool, and, you know, supporting one another kind of all together.
Having the garden not only provides healthy food, but it also provides an outdoor activity, a way to connect with nature, and of course, as you see today, a way to engage your community. What else is important to me by having the garden, and I think I mentioned a few moments ago about having cooking classes, I think that that's something that's really important for our young people too. A lot of people have grown up with 2 working parents. A lot of times dinner time has become fast food, and unfortunately it's just a fact of our culture, and I think a lot of our food traditions and the way that we cook and prepare food have been lost. So I certainly hope that we can, at least on a small level, pass along some food heritage traditions for these people.
There's a lot of people that are very concerned about where their food comes from. There's so many stories out there. They hear about the recalls. They hear about food from China. Right. They want to know where their animals were raised. They want to know what kind of quality and how they were raised and who raised them and all of that sort of thing.
I feel that local fairs are very important in the community to, one, come together as a community and do something together, as well as giving people the opportunity to spend locally, to buy locally, to encourage each other to keep producing their beautiful pieces of art, their wonderful foods, and just a kindred spirit of being neighbors. I think that that's part of what I love about farmers markets in general is they're all here for the same goal and the same purpose, to better the community.
One of the things that I think is really important is a lesson you probably learned when you were a little kid. I'm sure your mom and dad's or your teacher at school said, when you go out in the world, hold hands and stick together. And I think particularly in this economy, we need to be holding hands and sticking together. So that's part of the reason I'm here, is I want to do anything I can to help my community.
I just wish that more people would realize that they need to cook in order to feed their family nutritious food. It's easier and cheaper to cook it than it is to buy it in the store. Now, I can make a cake in probably 10 minutes, and that includes getting the mixer out and washing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the time you've gone to the grocery store and bought the cake and made sure you know, it takes the same time.
And then you have all that stress of driving and the traffic and a huge carbon footprint.
Not only that, you have ingredients in it that you have not chosen yourself.
Not something that your grandmother would have as a list of from the root cellar or from the pantry.
No, but some things you can't even pronounce or spell. So that's why I think that preparing your food is so important to the health of our nation. But what's more, I believe that the old adage of people who eat together stay together. Mm. Ron and I eat together every evening. I pack his lunch every day. I can't tell you how much money that saves. Mm. But the companionship and the doing it together is wonderful. There's always something in the kitchen that children can do.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
Take the time to show them how to do it. Because they like to do things, and they like to be helpful.
You know, even the people who work in some of the supermarkets, the kids don't know what you're buying when they're ringing you up.
Yeah.
And so, you know, how do we re-educate people to the bounty that we have here, that we can get? Everything doesn't have to come from Florida, California, and South America and Central America. You know, the more we can get here, the more people learn about where we're able to get it. I mean, where Morrison purchases it from.
Yeah.
Then they're going to look to do it. I mean, we have an incredible abundance of farms and, you know, producers of organic meats and beef. I mean, you can go out and
right
get
in this area
today.
Yeah.
You know, whether you go downtown for the farmers market, you know, if this just whets your appetite, so to speak, and then you go out to the other ones or in your community, or you just stop at the roadside stand or take your kids out, you know, to pick their own cherries. You know, that will start. They'll get, because I guarantee you, it's going to taste better. I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges we face, both as an organization, as a community, and as a nation, is 4 of the 6 major diseases are related to obesity and the way we eat. And it used to not be that way.
I just realized the responsibility that we have in healthcare, that dietitians particularly have. Dietitians want people to eat right, and they talk about it a lot. But it goes beyond, you know, so many portions of this or that food, and what's the quality of the food, and what's the freshness of the food. One individual person buying from a local farmer can make a little bit of a difference, but a hospital serving 4,000 meals a day can make a huge difference to really impact not just the regional food system, but really the entire nation's food system. So every little bit helps, but the bigger the buying power, the better. The biggest problem in our healthcare system, well, one of the biggest, is the obesity epidemic, which contributes to all of the chronic disease states, which create the huge healthcare bill that we are struggling with. So if we just tackle obesity, what is it that makes people keep eating? Well, there are lots of reasons. It's multifactorial, including exercise. But just looking at food and flavor, there is a satiety factor. When people eat something delicious and they feel the joy of that flavor, there is a sort of a satisfaction that happens that maybe they don't have to go back and get more, have second and third helpings, or have a snack 2 hours later. And so local food is clearly, nobody needs to do research on this, it's clearly more flavorful, it's more delicious. Speaking of research, there has been good research about family meals where you do cook at home and eat together around a table together. And the results are very positive for kids using drugs or alcohol or just doing well in school. So that, however that plays out, there's a connection that's made when the family eats together and participate in a meal that has lots of ramifications for the kid's entire life.
Well, the number one risk factor for illness overall is social isolation. This is the number one risk factor for all types of illness. When we feel isolated and loneliness, and Mother Teresa said loneliness is the poverty of the West. It's a deeper poverty than the material poverty of the third world. So our loneliness leads to bad lifestyle choices and also has physiologic effects, leads to chronic anger or chronic depression, which change our hormone levels for making us at risk for disease. So connecting up locally to the farmers who are out in the fresh air and sunshine, sharing their experience, because as humans we need fresh air and sunshine. We now know that vitamin D plays a big role in prevention of disease, so we need to get out in the sun a certain amount of time per day to get our natural vitamin D. And getting in the sun to get your vitamin D, as opposed to taking a vitamin D supplement, the body can adjust its vitamin D level. So it's better if you have that opportunity, and then you can use supplements as needed. Once again, it's better to eat the whole fresh fruit and vegetables than to take supplements to try to make yourself healthy, because of all the nutrients we haven't discovered, all the minor trace nutrients that the body uses to help adjust its health. Well, I think what we want to do is look at the most aerial view of health. We want to look at our global choices. And now that we know things like the danger of certain choices that we make, such as the Gulf oil spill or some other environmental impact of the choices, we really want to say, okay, how can we keep our planet Earth healthy? And that impacts our own individual health. And so we need to pay attention to our farmers, to encourage them to grow organic, to have that connection of community for our own safety, because love heals. Love heals. It helps prevention and it helps cure. And this is really about making the human journey, which we're all on together, and our human Earth planet, we're all on together, full of love. And it can be. Every time we buy a particular food, we vote for more of that. Now, it's not as if the industry of food in this country is trying to deceive us, maybe sometimes, but they want to supply us what we will buy. So we as consumers need to educate ourselves about what's right to purchase. And then we vote every time we buy that, we get more of that. So we want to make the effort to buy organic, because it's so important for our planet. It's so important for our own individual health. The food is more healthy. The environment is more healthy. We keep ourselves safe if we make the effort to purchase local organic food. It's like anything. Whatever we purchase is going to be more encouraged to be done. And so when we make the effort to purchase these organic foods, the farmers will be empowered to do this. It's difficult now for many of them to go through the effort of organic. But if they know they're going to sell their produce, if they're going to sell what they're doing, then they'll be encouraged and supported to make the effort to do this. And this is very important for our planet, for our personal health, for the safety of our children. We have in this country an epidemic of heart disease. Half of all Americans die from heart-related illnesses. Half of all Americans. It's more than all of the diseases combined. This was not true 100 years ago. In the beginning of the 1900s, it was very rare to have a heart attack. And so it's our lifestyle choices that we've been making over time that have contributed to the problem. So what we need now is to pay attention to those factors that have contributed to this epidemic. And we can, and I want to assure you, we can eliminate 95% of heart disease from our country. So much suffering could be eliminated by a vegan diet. This is the diet that helps prevent and reverse heart disease. We know this clearly now. And the second is cancers. We have an epidemic of cancers. Certain cancers are much more common. Breast cancer, prostate cancer, much more common even in young people. We can help prevent and reverse these diseases by a vegan diet. And this has been shown. And diabetes, our fastest growing epidemic, has been shown scientifically to be reversed in about 6 weeks on a vegan diet. Type 2 diabetes can be reversed in about 6 weeks. So we can eliminate the diabetes epidemic by changing our food choices. And it begins, the really exciting thing is it begins in a few days. You can feel the difference. So it's worth a try. Just try it for a week or two and see how you feel, because generally you can feel the difference. Everything in your body starts to self-correct. And it's not just quantity of life, it's quality of life we're talking about. The vegan diet, it consists of the new 4 food groups: whole fresh fruit, whole fresh vegetables, whole grains, and beans, modest amounts of nuts and seeds, raw. And so that's the new 4 food groups that make up the healthy vegan diet. It eliminates all meats, including eggs and fish. It eliminates all dairy products. We now know scientifically what's optimum for the human body. We're 95.5% genetically identical with gorillas. And if you met a gorilla in a dark alley, you wouldn't take time to say, but where did you get your protein? Sure you don't need some fish? They're all vegetarian, vegan. And so this is the optimum diet for our structure. And it helps prevent both heart disease, cancer, arthritis, diabetes, the list goes on. So if we make healthy, optimum vegan food choices, we keep ourselves safe. So the vegan diet, it consists of the 4 healthy food groups: whole fresh fruit in its natural form, not fruit juices, not dried fruit, not refined syrups and things like that. So number 1 is whole fresh fruit. Number 2 is whole fresh vegetables in their natural form. Number 3 is whole grains, and number 4 is beans, peas, lentils, dal, soy products, and modest amounts of nuts and seeds. And so that's the healthy food choices. And there are plenty of food choices within this range. Fish is not a health food because it still has a significant amount of cholesterol in it, even though the fatty fishes have some omega-3s that allow them to move more quickly. Beans have omega-3s in them too. Nuts and seeds have omega-3s, and they're better choices because any kind of fish still has some cholesterol in it. The cholesterol is a dense, waxy substance that interferes with the body's blood flow. We now know that within 2 weeks of cutting the lymph around the heart, heart disease develops. You've got to keep your lymph flowing well so your white cells can go and remove any clots. If you have dense foods there, and that includes cheese and dairy products, then the body can't do the repair work that it needs to do. So this is why we're safer on this kind of diet. Body can repair itself better.
This program is a production of Meet the Farmer TV, LLC, in association with Planet Earth Diversified, Nelly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design. For additional information and extended versions of this program, visit our website, www.meetthefarmer.com.